So guys, what's going on? Spencer Fearon was given an interview with IFL TV a couple of days back. And in that interview, he mentioned something about Amir Khan's boxing brain. And he said, I don't think Amir Khan's boxing brain is that good. I don't think he's got his boxing IQ. And what he meant by that is boxing IQ is not very high. And a lot of Khan fans obviously give him a lot of stick, saying that, he doesn't, he's a Khan hater, this, that. But actually, you know what? If you listen to Spencer Fearon and what he had to say, he's actually quite right. He mentioned that Amir Khan's always been a fighter, that he's been very naturally talented, very good. But he was a fighter that took you had a guy in the corner that was always giving him instructions, telling him what to do. But he was not a fighter that could think for himself spontaneously on the spot what to do. He was a fighter that had to be told and given instructions, and he had to follow those instructions. And I believe Amir Khan at his peak was able to do that. He said, Spencer Fearon said, well, with Freddie Roach gave him instructions, now Virgil Hunter gives him instructions. And when Amir Khan was at his peak, he was able to follow those instructions majority of the times against good fighters. But I felt like in this fight against Crawford, I feel like they had a game plan, but I just don't think his body was able to do what he could do in his prime. And he's dipped. And Spencer Fearon also mentioned that, Amir Khan is dipped and he's no longer the fighter he was. But he did mention that Amir Khan in his prime, and the Amir Khan that beat Andreas Kotelnik, could have given anyone a great fight. And I do agree with everything that Spencer Fearon was saying was right. He said his boxing brain isn't the highest. He's not got the best boxing brain, whereas someone like Crawford has got he's got a very good boxing brain, and his boxing IQ is very high, and that's true. Amir Khan spontaneously can't think for himself on the spot. He gives you that impression. He fights that way. And also, Spencer Fearon mentioned that Amir Khan has adapted his style. He fights the same way. And that's true as well. He's not as fast as he used to be. His hands aren't as quick as what they used to be. And because of that, you have to adapt and change. Whereas Amir Khan kind of still fights the same way. Now, Spencer Fearon mentioned that with David Haye as well, that David Haye hasn't really adapted. He tries to fight the way he did when he was young. And that was a recipe for a disaster as you got older, because your attributes weren't anywhere near. Your body wasn't as strong as what it was when it was in his prime. And that's the same with Amir Khan. Amir Khan's attributes used to get him out of trouble because he did have his flaws, but his attributes and his talent was so much that a lot of the time that his flaws used to get hidden because of the fact that he was so good and so fast that guys couldn't live with him. There's probably a lot of guys, right, that this Amir Khan, currently the Amir Khan that lost to Terence Crawford, in my opinion, if he had fought guys like Madonna, he would have lost. He would have lost against probably Alexander, or a lot of those guys, because this Amir Khan wouldn't have been able to beat those guys. But that's why Amir Khan in his prime was a very, very good fighter. That Amir Khan in his prime could have fought any elite fighter and give him good fights. And a lot of you are going to say, well, he was knocked out to Garcia. Yeah, but the Garcia fight was picking him apart up until that knock. And then even when he got knocked down, he was fighting him. And the Lamont Peterson fight, I thought he won. So, like I said, I think, and the Canelo again, I think, once he lost to Danny Garcia, I think Amir Khan became more of a business fighter. I think before the Danny Garcia, Amir Khan he had ambitions that I just want to conquer. I want to be a pound for pound great. He had those kind of ambitions. But I just feel after Danny Garcia became very inactive, his career then was stop-start. He was just gunning for the big fights. He became more of a businessman, after the Danny Garcia fight. Started picking and choosing his fights, and he wasn't having a flowing career after that. Amir Khan's career after the Danny Garcia defeat wasn't smooth like a top fighter's career should be. He wasn't fighting constantly. I just think I think that fight kind of broke his heart a little. And his career after that, in my opinion, wasn't as what I think it should have been. I think he should have, carried on fighting the way he was earlier on in his career, where he was fighting regular 2-3 times a year. Whereas I think, after the Danny Garcia defeat. You know, sometimes he would be fighting once a year. I remember when he took the Canelo fight. A lot of people don't understand that he was only fought one fight in 1 year, and he had 2 fights in 2 years, something like that. And then he took the Canelo fight, and the last fight he had, which was a year prior to the Canelo fight, was against Chris Algieri. So he didn't have the greatest preparation, right, going into a fight against Saul Canelo Alvarez. You know, it wasn't a right fight for him at that time, in my opinion. And he didn't have the right preparation really either, if I'm honest. He went into that fight, and listen, you can't go into a fight underprepared or not having, some good names under your belt. You know, like I said, he had only fought like once or twice in 2 years. He was very inactive, and then after that, he fought again. Then he fought Le Greco, Vargas, and then he went into Crawford. Again, his back end of his career hasn't been managed that well. It's just like, let's have a couple of fights, then we'll jump into a big fight, see if we can win and our talent gets us through. It's not been well managed after Danny Garcia. I think after Danny Garcia, Amir Khan's been managing himself, whereas before the Danny Garcia defeat, there was a lot of promoters that felt like this guy could be a massive star. I think once he lost to Danny Garcia, I think guys like Golden Boy, many promoters probably thought they kind of didn't have that same passion that they had before, because they probably felt like this guy has his weaknesses and maybe he might not be able to reach what they initially thought he would reach. Whereas Golden Boy before, I would even say Oscar De La Hoya really liked Khan. And if Khan, stayed active and won his fights, I think Oscar De La Hoya would have really made Khan a big star. Because I think Amir Khan had a following, and I think Oscar De La Hoya really liked him as well. I think he had a personal like for Amir Khan, and I think he would have been able to make him a massive, massive star in America. But unfortunately, that loss against Danny Garcia really put him back, and I don't ever think he recovered after that. And I think mentally himself, he became more of a businessman rather than an actual. Before the Danny Garcia fight, he was a proper fighter where he wasn't worried about, of course every fighter worries about the money, but it was more about the status, about fighting in his division, conquering, becoming unified, undisputed. He had that kind of vision. Whereas I think after the Danny Garcia fight, his vision kind of changed. It was more like, let's try to attract the big money fights. Let's get as much money as we, it's more like that. He became more of a businessman, and that's how I think his career went. But in terms of his boxing brain, I think, yes, I would agree. I don't think his boxing brain is the best inside the ring. I believe that he needs instructions. He needs a trainer that would give him instructions and devise a game plan for him, because I don't think he's the kind of fighter that's a thinking fighter in the ring. He's just, that's my opinion. I agree with Spencer Fearon. I think he needs instructions, and he's able to follow those instructions, which he showed throughout his career. I don't think he was able to follow the instructions against Crawford, probably because Crawford was so good, and also Amir Khan's body and his skills have diminished because he's not the same fighter he was, a couple years back. But yeah, guys, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think of what Spencer Fearon had to say. Do you agree that Amir Khan's boxing brain has not got a great boxing brain? Leave your thoughts, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.